pandemic. I don't mean that COVID is eradicated.
Yeah, I literally got COVID this week. That's why I was gone.
Yeah. COVID still exists.
Yeah,
It's still being monitored. It's just
That's
going to
like
be
1 to
another
2
flu season now. But
cases per 1,000 people is pretty rare.
yeah, and I'll say this, right? Like when there is flu season, right? A lot of these measures that you saw in COVID happen, right? In my area, right, during flu season, a lot of hospitals have mandatory masking when you go into those hospitals because it's flu season. They're also concerned about possible spillage from like bird flu, but that's like we're not quite there to see if it's like actually going to jump or anything. It very likely might not, but they're being hyper cautious. You know, when you're dealing with something that can kill a shitload of people, I think it's reasonable to be hyper cautious. Probably one of the big reasons that COVID was as bad as it was is because China isn't that hyper cautious with this shit. You know?
Yeah. It's the Chinese virus, guys. That's what Trump said. It's a Chinese virus.
Okay.
I don't want that social credit store, you know?
From a design. So what does viruses got to do?
I didn't hear what you said.
I didn't hear what you said either.
Yeah, I asked the question, like, what is the argument?
There is no argument
he
here.
thinks like vaccines are bad. Let's see
I
what this
didn't say
AstraZeneca thing.
Yo, Strawman,
Are these vaccines?
Yeah, they are bad.
Okay, so wait,
Darwin,
I just want to
I didn't say
wait.
that. I didn't
Okay,
say that. I
I'm
didn't say
fine.
that.
Granted.
Strawman.
Granted.
So why the fuck are you misrepresenting me, retard? Like what? I didn't say
granted.
vaccines are bad. I got a vaccine. You're an idiot.
Okay.
I'm not some anti-vax retard.
Okay,
all I'm pointing out.
Why are you
No,
guys talking
calm down.
about this in here? Why are you talking about this in here?
Let's not-
Just let him go.
It doesn't matter.
Just let him go.
It doesn't matter. Okay, you provided a link. I'm so glad you provided a link. I need you to recognize the link you provided is well below 2.5%, and it is actually 0.003% of people that are affected by this. Do you acknowledge that it is vastly smaller than what you had thought? Oh, okay,
Yeah,
so
fine,
you're under. I want to see how vastly you accidentally blowed this out of proportion. I'm going to do 250 divided by this number. Right?
Bro,
This is going to be like. This is going to be the amount. You magnified this issue by 83,000 times. Just keep that in mind. Like when we think of overreacting, it's when people think that something is like happening. Like if maybe there's like a leftist on Twitter who thinks police officers are literally hunting.
Bro, you just left
people,
hearing the sound of your own voice. Like I'm conceding. Fine, it's not 2.5%. I made a mistake.
Okay.
Oh, big deal.
Okay.
Like you're gonna be like, oh, you exacerbated it by this much. Oh, you're so no, bro. Like
Okay,
calm
but
down.
do
I
you
just
think this
told
should
you off the
change
top
your
of my
opinion?
head, and I said that when I said it. So I don't hold me to what I said. Like
do you
it's
think
the
this should
Bible.
change your opinion? Do you think this should change your opinion about this vaccine?
Change in what regards? What do you mean change my opinion?
Because if we're deciding whether this vaccine is like good to engage with, we're gonna look and see if it's like reducing.
What do you mean good to engage with?
I'm so glad you asked because I was just describing that. It's going to be reducing the amount of deaths or injury that someone's going to get from a disease. Right now, if COVID has a death rate of like 1 to 3%, and what you brought forward as a contention, well, I think we should slow down on the vaccine because this thing can happen, and it's 0.0003% death rate. You should recognize that this is a very, very minuscule amount of people affected, and vastly more people are affected by the actual COVID virus. And if just a basic cost-benefit analysis, you land on take the vaccine.
So can I ask you a question? Just a serious question, right? So if what you're saying is true, that the cost-benefit analysis would indicate that the AstraZeneca vaccine is more generally better for the population than whatever minute cases of blood clotting, why did they make the decision to formally discontinue the AstraZeneca vaccine in Australia?
I don't know, but there could be a variety of reasons, right? Doesn't necessitate that they actually know what they're doing as regards to the vaccines, right? We'd have to look at what the reasons were. We'd have to look at what the reasons were, and I'm telling you right now, if their reasons is this, I think they have a.
It's because of the link to blood clotting, by the way. That was the reasoning.
Okay, but as we just discussed, that's really poor because it affects 0.0003% of the population versus 3% of people dying from COVID.
Right, and 0.03. No, it's not. Okay, so per 100,000, let's say you get 3. Let's say you get 3 per 100,000, right? How many people live in Australia? Like 26 million?
Mm-hmm. Okay, but if you do this line of thinking, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing with 3% of people. Just to give you a heads up. I will ask you to do the same exact thing. I'll even ask you to just do 1%. I'll give you the most credit. And we'll see that mine is like just way bigger than yours, right?
Okay, so
Yo!
Darwin, I think the difference between like me and you is that for some reason you hold that the government is like good and its intentions are noble and that they're righteous and they don't have any ulterior motives, and you're very trusting of the government, whereas I'm a lot more skeptical. I see that the government has lied about a lot of shit, and I don't see any reason for me to put my trust in them. And when I see them making it up as they go along, where I live in Australia, by the way, so that's why I
Aren't
mentioned
you
Australian
trusting the
statistics.
Australian government banning AstraZeneca? No.
What do you mean?
Look, you literally just
I
cited
never
the
took AstraZeneca. I took Pfizer, by the way.
No, I understand. You just cited the Australian government banning this vaccine as some kind of authority on the matter, right? When you say you don't trust government, this isn't true.
No,
You
they
do
banned
trust
it because of
government
the heat that they
when
got.
it agrees
No,
with you, right? But
no,
if
no,
we
no.
look,
I
if
don't
we
trust government when it
look,
agrees with me.
all I'm
Even when it
looking at,
agrees with me,
all
I
I'm
don't
looking at,
trust them.
all I'm looking at it. Well, then you should raise your eyebrow at this, because it seems like in your case, the Australian government made a really weird decision where they said this issue that affects a hyper minority of people, right, is is good enough for us to, not worry about something that has a 1 to 3% death rate compared to this. It's like literally mountains. It's molehills into mountains, right? It's like these things are just drastically different, orders of
So I guess you
magnitude
know better
different
than
in
the Australian
severity.
government. So I guess you know
If
better than
that's
the
the
Australian
reasoning,
government.
absolutely, yeah, I would hold that, yeah.
Okay. Right. So again, the point here is very simple. You're very trusting of the government. You think they have noble intentions. I don't come in with that assumption.
Well,
I
no,
believe that
I'm
they have
dealing.
ulterior
No.
motives.
I'm
And
dealing
the
with the
reason,
data.
let me
I'm dealing with the
finish. Let me
data. I'm
finish.
dealing with the
Let me
data.
finish. Let
You're
me
like
finish. Let me
poisoning the well.
finish.
You're
Let me
poisoning the well.
finish. Bro, the data changes. Like the data is not static. Like you need to understand
Find me
this.
data that supports the conclusion that that blood clots are this serious of an issue, and I'll look at it. The problem is you provided a source. That source shows that this is this is not a big issue compared to like how big of an issue COVID was. So we just, in the basic cost benefit analysis, again, COVID is 83,000 more times more severe than this blood clot issue. 83,000.
Yeah, that's fine. By the way, the COVID numbers are inflated. Like, do you understand that?
If they were inflated, you would expect to see that the COVID numbers would be larger than the amount of people that were over the excess death mortality rate. They, in fact, were not over the excess death mortality. So I do not think that they were inflated.
Do you know what I mean by inflated? Like, do you
You
understand
know
what I'm
what I
even
mean by
saying?
excess death mortality?
Do you want to answer my question? Then I'll answer yours.
You
Wait,
think they're
why do you think
inflated.
it's
So
inflated?
you think they're
Because I'll tell
inflated,
you, that's a great question.
likely because you
Can I
think
answer
that
that
if so,
question? I'd like to answer that
you
question.
asked
That was
you
a good
asked
question.
you asked
Guys,
me
can you
though.
try to wrap this up within like the next 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, I'll wrap this
Uh,
Yeah,
up.
I kind
So
of talk about
just go to
religion.
another room if you're going to
Beginning
complain
next
about
one,
the
yeah.
real.
yeah, that's fine. We can talk
What's
about
up,
Yeah,
Darwinism
Dave?
afterwards.
I'm just saying. Hi, Matt.
Uh,
I'm just saying. Let them go.
I
What
just
up,
Well,
Dave?
I'm just saying.
uh,
I'm just saying. Baked. Let them go. I just like. It'd be rude to just interrupt them, but like, I mean, we are been talking about COVID in a fucking religion call. So I mean, just
yeah, that's fine.
just entertain it for a
I'll
little bit
finish up.
longer.
I'll leave
Yeah,
it to you,
that's fine.
Bubba. It is your room, so it's
Yeah,
your room.
so Bubbles, the reason why I think it's inflated is because COVID is usually not actually the primary mechanism of why someone dies. Like it's because they have secondary or tertiary issues, and COVID just lowers the immunity, and then because the immunity is now lowered, those secondary or tertiary diseases become way more deadly, and then that's actually what kills them. It still gets counted as a COVID death, even though COVID is just like one factor that led to the death. So because of that,
So
the
this would
death
be like
toll
saying
numbers would be
HIV isn't that
inflated.
serious. This is like saying HIV isn't
That's
that
not. It's
serious
not the
because
same thing. It's
well,
not the
no,
same
because
thing.
it lowers
There
your
would be
immune system. It
instead of
lowers
being
your immune
counted as
system.
comorbidity, instead of being counted as comorbidities, they're counted as deaths. The deaths because of COVID, which is not like entirely true. It's very misleading.
Okay.
So
So
they're
do you know what
inflated.
excess? Do you
No,
know
I
what
think those
excess
numbers
death?
count.
Do you know what excess death mortality means?
No, you're my teacher.
Okay, so
Explain it to me.
excess death mortality is the amount of deaths that are over the average amount of deaths in a year, right? If like say like there was a meteor that hit the United States in like New York City, you would have a lot extra deaths than the average because this event is not the average of a year, right? Normally people are dying from things like heart disease, cancer, car crashes, and that sort of thing, right? But when we look at COVID, right, we did see a spike in excess death mortality that was above the average, above all these other things that you mentioned, such as comorbidities, such as being overweight, or having some kind of genetic disease. These things are
Or
already a part.
respiratory.
Yeah, these things are, or flu. These things are already a part of that average because they're already part of this population. Now, when you look at the excess death mortality and you add that up, it largely matches the COVID numbers. If COVID death numbers were inflated, what you would actually expect to see is that you would see a ballooning of these excess deaths way more than the excess death mortality rate. It's not what happens. Not what you see. They closely
Can you
match.
give me references? Can
Yeah,
you give me references?
I'll Google that right now.
Thank you very much.
You agree with the argument though? Like if these things are true, then it's just it's
I'm not
statistically related.
anti-vax, Bubbles. I literally
Well,
took the vaccine, by the way.
I'm not saying you're
None of us.
anti-vax here. I'm
You
just
said that
asking you
before, by
to.
the way. You said that
That's
before, by the
fine.
way.
That's fine. I took it back. I'm asking you: do you agree that if this is true, that these death numbers don't seem to be inflated?
I'll look into it, and if what you're saying is true, then
Bubba,
I'll
don't
concede
get
that they're not
your
inflated.
philosophy out of here, bro. I'm gonna pop your ass, G. Don't mess with me ever again, gang.
Are you like a mumble rapper?
We was the real kings, bro. Y'all white boys don't know shit.
Hey man, we were the real king. We were the original Jews, man. You know what I'm saying? Shut up, bro. That's like you sound like.
Bubba, where's your audio, bro?
Oh shit, my bad. I was just laughing just now because I meant to mute Sinister and then I accidentally muted Q.
Oh, he's got you on cam. Oh, shoot.
My bad. Are we
Whoa,
done?
that's
Are we done?
trippy.
Are we done with the COVID debate? Can I stop recording?